it's just...
Alright, you want me to handle things while you get the coordination?
Well, I'm just going to sit here. We're fine. I got other people here.
Alright.
We just chill for the moment. I'll get with you. We are part of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. I'm on the National Committee.
And Bruce, you have just walked, your group has just walked from Philadelphia to DC, and they're arriving today in Dupont Circle to set up.
And we're going to have a 24/7 vigil for the next 5 days.
And this is a 50-year anniversary of the original...
Yes, the original Resurrection City and Dr. King's Poor People's Campaign.
And what is your message?
Our message is that any movement to end poverty must be led and informed and in solidarity with poor people, homeless people, formerly homeless people, unemployed people, people impacted by it. Because most of the solutions that are being looked at, including another organization, is a top-down organization with big money from the Ford Foundation, the Gates Foundation, and the Democratic National Committee.
And you're talking about the other organization?
I'm talking about the new Poor People's Campaign led by Reverend Barber. No disrespect to him, he's a good man, but I think that he has been co-opted by big money. They went so far as going to our Wikipedia page and trying to edit it, and we're reporting him now, saying that the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign doesn't exist. We have been here for 25 years. They've only been in existence since the fall of last year. And it's tantamount to co-option. It's tantamount to, there's another word I'm thinking of, riding off the coattails of something else that existed. And it's fundamentally a serious problem in our mind, because poor people are the ones who need to be heard. It's the same problem that happens with big box charities and social services and homeless coalitions around the country that are led by bureaucrats with big money that have never been homeless. Unless you have been homeless, unless you've been poor, unless you've experienced poverty, then you have no right to dictate to poor people how their change should happen. And that's what's happening with both parties, but especially the Democratic Party's willingness to ride the coattails and co-opt movements that existed before. And this isn't the first time. They tried to co-opt Dr. King. They tried to tell him, don't say anything because Johnson's doing all this stuff for the poor. And he says, I can't not say anything. This isn't about political parties. So that's our stance.
And you walked for the last 12, I think it was 12 days.
Well, actually, we're on day 10 today.
10 days. From Philadelphia, from Kensington, where your headquarters are located. Right. That's the poorest community. Tell us about that community.
Yeah, Kensington is one of the poorest communities in the country. It has the highest rate of heroin addiction. The main economies there are people that have disability, people that are on welfare, and unfortunately illegal drugs, because there's no real jobs there. And that's a product of this economy and of the two parties' systems being in bed with capitalism.
On Monday, they're planning an action in front of HUD.
Yes.
Are you going to be a part of that?
Oh yes, we are. Well, actually, the action is our action.
Okay.
Ben Carson, Reverend Barber's Poor People's Campaign is not doing something in front of HUD. They're doing something somewhere else in the afternoon.
And you're protesting at HUD. You're going to do an unspecified action at HUD.
Right.
In essence, because of the issues with HUD and the way they're defunding these public housing efforts across the country.
Yes, absolutely, and it is a pattern that has existed for some time with both parties. They do not want control of public housing to be in the hands of poor people. And one of the things that fundamentally bothers me is there are too many groups involved in identity politics and not uniting as a class. I mean, even with this Pride Day, not unlike the King parades, it's one giant consumer event. It has no social message to it but to celebrate gay pride, which we're 100% in support of. But how about supporting poor folks? And that's our concern.
Thank you, Bruce, for your comments. And we'll be covering you throughout your occupation here. The name of this is going to be
Resurrection City 2.
Resurrection
First
City.
being after Dr. King's death in '68.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.